Senator Favola will not be with us today as she has COVID and cannot participate here. So we're only having, two bills today, and we'll be dealing with the rest of the docket. I think there's 7 more bills that we'll deal with next Thursday. She is a vital part of this committee, and this committee is put together with the notion that the way that we treat animals says a whole lot about who we are as people, and how we provide for all of us. And animals are sometimes a proxy for that. And we're here today, but we have to do things that are within sound judgment and good law, and not confuse companion animals with farm and work animals. And it's a tricky thing. There's a lot of passion around these issues, and I just appreciate everybody's ongoing interest in the welfare of these animals. And it's good for our Commonwealth that this concern exists out there. We don't all agree on the best way to do things, but everybody, I've always known that everybody's heart is in just the absolute right place in dealing with companion animals. And with that, could you call the roll?
Senator Favola, Senator Hackworth,
Here.
Senator Marsden.
I'm here.
Mr. Chair, we have a quorum.
We have a quorum. There we go. And first up on the docket is Senate Bill 279. Senator DeStef, welcome. And
Mr. Chair, thank you very much. And for Senator Favola, she would love this bill. I am sorry that she's out. I did have a conversation with her, and she sounded very good yesterday, happy, healthy, and in good spirits. So I know she's waiting to rejoin us in the august body of the Senate. With that, I'd like to just kind of quickly explain what we're doing with Senate Bill 279, the vicious dog bills, and we have a couple of speakers as well. So I'm going to be super quick. So last year we fixed the dangerous dog bill, and what we're doing on this one is we're saying that if you have in the exact same, we're bringing the two sections of code in line, so it's more of a cleanup bill. Oh, wait a minute, we have an amendment.
Yes, sir.
I forgot about that.
You're fine.
okay. And,
So I'll
could
let
you-
our
could you
attorney
report-
explain the amendment where we're changing a may
Could
to
you
a shall.
report the amendment?
Yes, sir. Mr. Chairman, the amendment is on line 25 after the new word definition, strike may and insert shall.
And this is, excuse me, what line again?
Line 25.
On 25.
Where the new language is, change the may to shall.
And Mr. Chair, members of the committee, it's pretty simple. What we're doing is saying that where vicious dogs and dangerous dogs, pretty much the same thing, when you take a dog in at an animal control facility, that we don't want them to have to house a dog for 60, 90, 120, 180 days. We're just saying, hey, we shall take care of this quickly like a dangerous dog and have a hearing within 30 days. So we want to get this thing moved through the system as quick as possible so they don't have a dangerous or a vicious dog sitting there in confinement for 60, 90, 120, 180 days. But this brings the two sections of code in line, and I have truly the subject matter experts on this to testify with us today and help answer any difficult questions, but I can answer the easy ones.
Okay, thank you. Just have one question, here. The bill seems to say that you can pursue action from a magistrate when there's when there's been a dog bite in either the jurisdiction where the person resides or the jurisdiction where the bite occurred, which sort of gives you 2 bites of the apple with 2 different magistrates. And that's I think, somewhat of an unusual circumstance under the law. Could you go into that a little bit?
I'm going to bring up my subject matter expert, but I'm pretty sure that also brings it in line with the dangerous dog section of code. So let me grab my subject matter expert on this, if I may. Megan? Oh, okay, we'll put her next to me. Let's put her on speaker too.
Go.
She's one of our animal control officers in the city of Virginia Beach, and we've worked together for the last 15 years on, well, probably longer than that, probably 20-something years, Wow, I got a lot of gray hair.
Okay.
Anyways, on bills like this to make it safer for Virginians and better for our dogs.
Okay, could you introduce yourself and provide us with your testimony?
Yes, sir. My name is Megan Conti. I am currently the Virginia Beach Animal Control Supervisor, Senior Supervisor. I'm also the Virginia Animal Control Association Vice President. Part of the reason for this code is it actually is designed, the changes, like Senator DeStaff said, is to get it in line with the changes that occurred last year with the Dangerous Dog Code, requiring anytime a vicious dog case comes before an animal control officer, the animal control officer shall seize the dog to place it in animal control. So that animal comes into our care and our custody. The concern is to have that case heard before a judge within 30 days to not only benefit the victim getting an outcome as quickly as possible and to know that the situation is resolved with the animal, but also the owner of the animal is racking up impound fees throughout that time, and the facility where the animal is being housed, they're having to care for an animal that could potentially cause harm to any of their staff. So it really benefits, there are benefits to it for all three entities involved. As far as the concern that you had of the jurisdiction, that brings it more in line with the changes. It's actually the exact same verbiage from the Dangerous Dog Code that was changed last year, because in some jurisdictions, for example, my city, we have dogs that come to our city to different pet stores, different parks, things of that nature, because our parks are free for dogs, and an incident will occur in our city, and then they go back home to their city. So it allows, whether the victim lives in Virginia Beach and the incident occurred in Virginia Beach, or whether the dog that did the aggressive act lives in Norfolk, it allows either jurisdiction the ability to pursue it.
What is the advantage to that? Usually most actions that are taken where there's, of course, dogs aren't charged with crimes, but had somebody done this, you wouldn't go to the jurisdiction where they lived to prosecute the case. You would go to where it occurred, because that Commonwealth attorney or that legal structure is there to protect that jurisdiction, as opposed to taking action where the dog lives. That just is that done anywhere else?
So, as
Dangerous dog.
Dangerous
Sets the
dog
code,
is
it's
done, and
there.
we have seen that recently be occurring where the dog resides in a different locality. The incident occurred in Virginia Beach, and there are issues with trying to make sure that the public in the residing city and the public in the action city are both safe, because we have such a transient area throughout our state. It is beneficial to have that ability. We also, because your victims report through the health department, well, the health department is required to report to the animal control, and that occurs in the city the victim lives in, which doesn't always coincide with the city where the animal resides in. Mm-hmm. And if that animal control officer wishes to pursue it, however, the animal control officer in the other locality has no history, then you have a conflict.
Mr. Chairman, I may provide a little bit clearer answer on this to help explain this. So in Northern Virginia, and I learned this when we were dealing with the original dangerous dog bill, they had a dog up there, and I'll refer to it as Jason because they refer to it as Jason's bill. Their dog up there lived in Fairfax County, but in the city of I think it was Falls Church City, which is within Fairfax County or above.
Well, they purchase some services from the county, but they are a city, not a town, so they do not come under.
Understood. But there was one, the dog resided in one, and I believe it was Fairfax County, but they had an issue with the dog in
Falls Church City.
Falls Church City,
Yeah.
And I guess the gentleman worked in one and then walked to his house in the other. So it was my understanding that he walked every day to work about a half a mile away, and the incident with the dog happened where he worked because he took the dog to work, but he actually resided in the half a mile away in the county. And that was the portion of that when they explained why it was important to them on the dangerous dog portion of it. So it was that close proximity. We have the same thing with, Norfolk abuts Virginia Beach, Chesapeake abuts Virginia Beach. And that whole close tightness of it, you can literally walk across the street and you're in the other city.
Yeah, and of course that's a venue issue. Lisa, well, let me ask that, and then I'll turn to Senator Hackworth to see if he has any questions or issues. But could you explain the venue aspects of this, because there are people who can walk across the street, shoplift, and then return to their home, and in two different jurisdictions.
They're still prosecuted in one, and we actually had that in one of the bills I had here. We had where we had a problem with them prosecuting. We had somebody who took advantage, a social worker who took advantage of a mentally ill individual financially. They were did that in Virginia Beach, but that person who took advantage of them lived in Hampton, yet worked in Virginia Beach. So between the two Commonwealth attorneys, one said, "Oh, I'm not going to do this." The other said, "Well, I'm not going to do it." We sat them down and said, "All right," worked with our LIS guys and said, "Here's how the law is truly interpreted in the AG's office," and they both ended up doing a joint prosecution on that. So the things similar, I guess, to this, where they would work together on things like this.
Yeah, as I remember some of the venue stuff, and I'll ask Lisa to comment on it. You have jurisdiction within a certain a mile or whatever of the place where the event occurred. Anyway, could you?
I will say, Mr. Chairman, venue is not my area of expertise normally. I do transportation and tax bills normally. I did find out, and I'm sorry that I did not know this before the meeting, the dangerous dog section was indeed amended last year. I was only familiar with the older version, and so this language does track how we do venue for dangerous dogs.
Okay.
I will confirm that. The only difference now would be the dangerous dogs does still say may apply to the magistrate, and with the amendment that Senator DeSteph just proposed, it says that they shall apply. But as for the venue, this does look like it would keep the dangerous dogs and the vicious dogs on the same
process. So we're not plowing new ground here. Senator Hackworth, any questions or comments you have on the bill?
So, Senator DeSteph, if I understand it right, you could ask either jurisdiction to prosecute this. Is that correct?
That's correct.
Either or.
Yes,
okay.
sir.
That's all the question.
Mr. Chairman, Senator Hackworth, yes, sir.
Okay, and there you go. Is there anyone else who would like to offer testimony in favor of the bill?
Good morning.
Good morning.
Good morning. Senator Marsden, Senator Hackworth. Lisa, you and I have emailed each other.
Hi. Nice to meet you.
My name's Kathy Strauss. I'm with the Virginia Animal Control Association. And before I comment, I just want to say I was sorry to hear about Senator Favola, and I hope you'll convey our best wishes for her speedy recovery.
We'll do that. I texted with her last night. She's deep into chicken soup and in the heart of Arlington as we speak.
Good. Well, we hope she's back with you soon. As the senator and as Megan had said, the intent of this bill was to bring it in line with dangerous. And I do want to point out that even in the old language for both of these statutes, it never said that the incident had to occur in the jurisdiction. It has always said if an officer believes a dog is dangerous or is vicious. But what we were having issues with is some officers believed that if the dog didn't reside in their jurisdiction, they could take no action. So that was the reason for last year's clarification. Mm-hmm. And the other thing I want to mention is while we do have may and dangerous, and I absolutely recognize that, that was a compromise, and it is perhaps appropriate to have discretion there, but we feel very strongly if you're going to pursue, if you have probable cause for vicious, it should be shall, not may.
Mm-hmm.
The other thing about the bill is it also brings in line the seizure statute, requiring appeals to be heard within 30 days. Now, we put some language in there that says, unless good cause is shown by the court, because we understand that some rural jurisdictions may only have what they call dog court 1 day a month. So we have put language in there for rural localities that may not be able to comply with the 30 days. But in most cases, appeals within 30 days, hearings within 30 days. This keeps the owners from racking up exorbitant impound fees, gives victims closure. The dog isn't languishing in a shelter for months and months and months. So those are the reasons for the changes.
Thank you. Senator Hackworth, any questions?
No questions.
Oh, okay.
you.
Thank you very much. Anyone else who would like to speak in favor of the bill? Anyone here in opposition to the bill? All right, the bill is up. We operate on a motion. Do we have a motion to report?
A motion to report.
I guess I'll. What's that? Oh, I thought we accepted the line amendment, didn't we?
Motion to report as amended.
Report as amended. Okay, and I second that. And if we can call the roll.
Senator Favola. Senator Hackworth. Senator Marsden.
Aye.
Ayes 2, no 0.
You're on your way, Senator
Chairman, members of the
DeStef.
committee, thank you very much.
All
Have a
right.
wonderful day.
There you go. And next we have our frequent flyer docket. Senator Stanley. Come and tell us about Senate Bill 89.
That's the nicest thing you've ever said to me.
I know,
I know you love. See, I give you a reason to be.
this is.
You're a chairman because of me.
Yeah, that's. Yeah, you are the only one.
Well, no, now it's a trend. We used to be just alone. And now we have a group.
We do indeed. Tell us about Senate Bill 89.
Thank you, Mr. Chairman, member of the committee. Senate Bill 89 is a simple bill that actually, when it comes to amending Virginia Code 3.26510, it requires that a pet shop that sells a dog or a cat to the general public must then have that dog or cat spayed or neutered before the transfer of the animal to the third-party owner. Mr. Chairman, members of the committee, quite simply, we have a proliferation of animals in the Commonwealth of Virginia. I don't think you have to look very far to find that our releasing agencies are very fine, humane societies, and those that take in abandoned animals are at their breaking point. They're at full capacity. And a lot of what we're seeing is an overpopulation. People get these boutique dogs, purebred dogs, either overbreed them, don't take care of them, and they end up in our animal shelters. And quite frankly, it's a burden that they should not have to make and have to take, but lovingly they always do. And so what this tries to do and accomplish is curb that population growth and explosion. Mr. Chairman, we have such an explosion of cats even that are populating in our animal shelters or become feral. When people decide at Christmas time or at Easter it's fun to get one of these animals, but then when the undertaking of care, and especially a purebred dog which may have been inbred, bred in a puppy mill, or overbred from an overbred mother, they may have certain traits that may be unacceptable to the person that got the dog. And a lot of times we make sure that before we let somebody get behind the wheel that a car is safe and it has certain things so that it prevents even human error from causing more tragedy. In this case, what we're trying to do is make sure that when that dog or cat is sold from a pet shop, that we're not going to have the proliferation of unwanted pets that we're seeing at this point in time. It's a common sense piece of legislation. We do that in the releasing agencies, the spay and neuter, before they adopt those dogs out. And I think it should be properly done as well in these pet shops. And that's the bill, Mr. Chairman.
All right. It is a couple of questions that I have. Been, as you know, we get emails, and there's the concern around the age of the animals. A lot of pet stores are going to be selling puppies, very young animals. And you yourself, on our last visit to a certain facility in Cumberland brought home an adorable young puppy, which I refused to touch because if I'd have touched it, I would have brought one home too.
I tried. I tried.
You tried.
And that would be my second beagle, which I love very much.
I have a granddaughter who's very allergic to dogs and can't
Can't
go
be
there.
allergic to love,
I-
Mr. Chairman.
This is true. You are a professor of love in the animal kingdom.
That sounds like a name for a band.
Yeah, but that and hopefully it'll have some testimony here. But there's some concerns about it being done too early and creating problems for the development of the animal in terms of the hormones and that kind of thing. Do you have any information on that?
Well, right now under 3.26574, we mandate the sterilization of adopted dogs and cats. Now, we have put it in the hands of those releasing agencies, those shelters, to determine how and when. Sometimes it is the dog may not have been fixed, and they are released to the owner with direction and follow-up to make sure that that dog has been sterilized, has been neutered or spayed from the releasing agency to the third-party adoptee. And so that has worked very well. And so if the dogs are old enough, because certainly you don't sterilize a dog too young or cat, you do it when they're at the proper age to do so. So one would expect, in the same ways that our releasing agencies have no problem, no issue with 3.26574, one would think that a pet shop, who is now responsible just as a releasing agency for the care of these animals, would not have the ability to make the same arrangements as our releasing agencies do.
Yeah. Of course, there's a criminal penalty here that is put into play, and if some pet store exercising their judgment here was not exercising the judgment in the way that an animal control officer would want, could be in a little bit of jeopardy. One of the things, Senator Stanley, is that we still have not.
And Mr. Chairman, I don't mean to interrupt you, but a Class 3 misdemeanor in the Commonwealth of Virginia, I'm going to put my attorney hat on, is the maximum penalty is a $500 fine. It comes with no criminal or no loss of liberty, no potential loss of liberty.
It does come with a record.
Well, it's like littering.
Yeah. Well,
you litter, you should be.
So you want to be on record for litter?
I do not litter, if that's what you're asking. Mr. Chairman, I answer the gentleman that way. But I do believe Councilor Walmart believes that perhaps an amendment to clarify this would be appropriate, and I trust every word that she puts down on paper, so I defer to her.
Mr. Chairman, that's very unfortunate for Senator Stanley. I would say, but in order to clarify, and this is probably a drafting error on my part. Again, I'll reiterate, I'm drafting outside of my expertise. We probably would want to clarify on line 33 where it says no pet shop shall sell a dog or cat unless it's been spayed or neutered, and then insert a sentence which I can wordsmith that the requirements of 3.26574 shall apply. And that's the provision that he was just mentioning about the releasing agencies that say you have to be spayed or neutered, but the animal has to be mature enough for that, or there's other provisions that you can put in place to...
Here, just to clarify for the committee, on subsection B2 of that code section, that requirement kicks in within 30 days of adoption if the animal is sexually mature, or 2, within 30 days after the animal reaches 6 months of age if the animal is not sexually mature at the time of adoption. And it provides in subsection BC, subsection C, that time period can be extended for 30 days.
And now we are with. I suppose there is, Senator Stanley, a different motivation, if you will, somebody going to a shelter and adopting an animal and somebody purchasing one. I think there's probably a lot of overlap where the motivation is similar, but somebody is paying in a shelter, limited funding to make sure that the dog is and I don't know how much that might cost, but some of these dogs in pet stores go for hundreds and hundreds of thousands of dollars, and the purchaser may not want the animal spayed or neutered. They may have some ideas around breeding, or they could have found a dog that they love and want to breed and sell to their friends. I don't know. Do you think that that creates any kind of commercial issue with for stores to and I'll go into a minute what's being done about pet stores in the Commonwealth right now, but do you think that creates a problem?
Mr. Chairman, I'd answer you by saying I don't believe so. There are a lot of responsible breeders throughout the Commonwealth of Virginia and even in other states that if someone wants a purebred dog and wants to breed it, that does not eliminate that ability to do so. A lot of times, though, what we're seeing is these pets that are coming into pet shops are coming in from sources that are unknown. And quite frankly, as much as I've tried over the past 9 years as a sitting senator to stop puppy mills from either operating in the Commonwealth of Virginia or bringing their animals into the Commonwealth of Virginia or having them sold in the Commonwealth of Virginia, they still exist and they still make it through that filter, and they still end up at pet shops. And I'm not calling out all pet shop owners. That's not my intent. I'm not casting aspersions upon them, but I believe that there is a way if someone has the intent that you said. That they can accomplish that without having to do it through a pet shop.
Okay, Senator Hackworth.
So, being a small business owner, Senator Stanley, do you know what the cost that's going to associate with this for pet store owners?
Mr. Chairman, I'd answer the gentleman by saying, I've paid for a lot of spay and neuters, so I can tell you what the cost is, and that cost does vary based on location.
But it is going to be a cost to them, correct?
It would be a cost, but a lot of times, and maybe so we understand something, a lot of times, like when we've rescued animals from releasing agencies, my family has, we pay for it, but we just comply with the law. So yeah, there's a cost associated. You and I have discussed this when it comes to that place that we were talking about before, and adopting out over 400 beautiful beagles.
Follow up.
And making sure that cost is paid for.
So also, do you think that if this became law and if you wanted to purchase a dog to potentially breed, that it would eliminate a lot of customers from going to a pet store to buy a dog because they'd be required to get them spayed or neutered, and they would have to go somewhere else, maybe to a breeder, to buy a dog. And so that would be, I think, a huge hit to a lot of legitimate pet store owners that would they would lose business and revenue because that's the only alternative. And what if, I think a lot of pet owners, they don't know if they want to breed this dog or not, or this cat or something of that nature. So I think you're really restricting them and you're hurting small business by doing that.
Mr. Chairman, I'd answer the gentleman, although I don't know that there was a question in there. That is a little bit of speculation, but just in human nature, it takes two, a male and a female dog, to create a litter of puppies. So when you're purchasing a dog from or a cat from a pet shop, it's a rare occasion when you're buying two of them. Especially a male and a female, and perhaps who knows if they're related or not in terms of bloodline. And if that's the case, that's a part of what we're having as a problem with the inbreeding of certain species, certain breeds, that it has caused physical problems for the dog. It's caused medical problems for the dog. It's for the litters that come from it. It's caused financial burdens to those people who buy them as well. And so you buy a dog and it looks really pretty, but it may have some of that inbreeding problem, and you buy it from a pet store. And a lot of people, unfortunately, don't have the patience, and so they end up at a shelter, and that's really what I'm trying to do, not hurt small businesses. That's not my aim. My aim is to stop the overflow of our animal releasing agencies who do such a great job, and they get these issues brought to them, and they lovingly take them on. They take on the sick. They take on the ones that have been abandoned because it just didn't fit or it was fun for a month, and now it's not so fun when the dog gets older. Okay. That's what we're trying to stop.
One last question. So,
Senator Hackworth.
Do you think that if this was to come in effect, it would? Do you think it would reduce the revenue of pet store owners and increase the cost for them?
Mr. Chairman, I'd answer the gentleman by saying, as a lawyer, if that question was asked in a court of law, I'd stand up and object as being speculation. I don't know, and I don't know the answer. Would there be an ancillary effect? I don't know. But people are, when they want to go buy a dog, and if they want to buy it at a pet shop, they can still do that. That doesn't stop that. I don't know of, and I can't quantify that people who want to breed dogs go to a pet store to buy one and then breed it with another dog that they either have or get from another pet store. I don't have those kind of figures. But for here and for now, the safety of the dog, the love of the dog, so they don't become problems, so we don't overbreed them, so we don't have 9 puppies all of a sudden, or, quite frankly, Mr. Chairman, a lot of times and down in our area, Mr. Hackworth, there are no fences, there are no borders. And so your dog can get out, come back. I have a lady who works from a company. Her large, very large Great Dane went off and had a great time with a Labrador. Yeah. And now she's got 11 puppies. So that is also the risk, too, that they get out. And they're beautiful, but they're huge. and luckily, luckily there was no room at the inn, so I didn't have to take one. But
by the way, are all of your dogs spayed and neutered?
Absolutely.
There we go.
Mr. Chairman, absolutely.
All right. Would love to hear any testimony from anyone who is in support of the bill. If you could step forward. Could you state your name and your knowledge of the situation?
Oh, do you mean to get to the microphone? Yes. Hi, Senator Marsden and member of the committee. I'm Tabitha Treelor. I am the Director of Communications for the Richmond SPCA, and I am here in support of Senator Stanley's bill that I believe would create excellent parity between Virginia releasing agencies and pet stores. Some of the concerns that have been raised revolve around what consumer choice might be involved, and I would believe that people acquiring pets from pet stores are seeking pets. And while we're very rarely aligned with the American Kennel Club, I would definitely advise you to take a look at their statements on the matter, the very differentiating groups of pet stock versus breeding stock. And animals that are usually chosen for breeding stock come from champion lines. And it's very, very different when you're looking for an animal that you're planning to breed, would generally come from those champion stocks, I believe. Also, as I've said, Virginia releasing agencies, whether public, private, or rescue groups, all have spay-neuter requirements. We have for decades, and it has improved the quality of life for companion animals throughout the Commonwealth. Thank you
so much. Kara, how are you?
Senator Hackworth. I'm Kara Moran with Virginia Positivity. I want to thank Senator Stanley for bringing this bill forward. I have mostly rescues, but I did acquire a full-bred dog from a responsible breeder this summer. One thing I wanted to point out, this is already happening with good responsible breeders. It's a real, it shows breeders that actually really care about the lions and really care about the puppies that they're selling. Usually when they have a litter, not all breeders, but most, and the one I went to this year, they'll tell you exactly which dogs they are going to allow to breed, which ones they're not going to allow to breed. It's in your contract, and then they can even go as far as to say that if you do decide to breed this dog, I would like to breed it first. So it's already being controlled on many levels with some breeders, not all, but I think that's a very good indication of breeders and owners that appreciate the breed and are trying to control it. So thank you.
Good morning, Mr. Chairman, Senator Hackworth. My name is Daphne Nakminovich, and I'm with People for the Ethical Treatment of Animals. We have 140,000 members and supporters in Virginia. I wanted to thank Senator Stanley for...
Daphne, could you...
Sure,
so that the audience can hear you.
Sorry. I wanted to thank Senator Stanley for introducing this bill and just add a couple of points to my colleagues' comments. Last year, the Commonwealth releasing agencies took in 218,000 dogs and cats who were either abandoned or unwanted, and those are just the ones that went into shelters. So we have a tremendous animal homelessness problem in Virginia. Over 90%, an estimated 90% of dogs sold in pet stores come from puppy mills. We passed the commercial breeding requirements in 2008 or 2009 in the Commonwealth to prevent and promote animal welfare. So the thing is that a lot of these animals are coming from out of state, and they should not be bred. Animals coming from puppy mills usually have congenital defects and genetic problems. So what happens is that releasing agencies like our shelter and the Richmond SPCA end up taking in animals who were impulse purchased, and then we have to spay or neuter them. So either a private nonprofit absorbs that cost or taxpayers do. So we urge you to pass the bill.
Okay. Did Lisa, did the correction or the observation that you made, do we need to do an amendment?
Yes, sir.
Okay. What do you think of could you describe the amendment again, please?
Yes, sir, Mr. Chairman. There's existing language in the language for releasing agencies about sterilization that says the animal has to be sterilized, but the animal also has to be sexually mature, has to be at least 6 months of age, and that a vet would have the ability to extend for 30 days if they thought that the health of the animal would be in jeopardy with the procedure. So
The vet?
a vet would,
Vet.
a veterinarian. Yes, sir.
Would have to.
If the veterinarian who was going to spay or neuter thought that
okay.
for some reason it would endanger the health of the animal at that moment, he could extend for 30 more days the requirements. So those are what have been in place for the releasing agencies, and the amendment proposed for Senator Stanley's bill would just to make sure those same requirements apply here, so that you aren't neutering a 6-month-old kitten.
Yeah.
Perhaps.
So that puts us in a situation where there are going to be times when this law would be complied with, and other times where it may not be because of the health of the animal, and then you're relying on the person who purchased to do that. And are folks generally okay? Senator Stanley, are you okay with that being the case, that some dogs will be will qualify and be neutered, and I guess that would be included in the price of the sale of the dog, and then others would be sold prior to a vet being willing to do that, and then it would be up to the owner, who may or may not choose that option. Is that going to be the situation here?
Mr. Chairman, I'd answer you by saying I don't know if it creates an option, but there are extenuating circumstances. There are, in rare cases, where a spay or neuter may endanger the life or the quality of life of that dog. And if there is a veterinarian working in collaboration either with the pet store or the third-party purchaser, and that decision is made by an expert, and you trust our veterinarians here in the Commonwealth of Virginia, then I think that would be an extenuating circumstance. It would be an exception to what is being requested.
So the person would take the dog home, and it would become their choice.
Mr. Chairman, the law that we would be referencing, the existing law, would say that the individual adopting or purchasing the animal would have to sign an agreement that they would have the animal spayed or neutered.
Okay. And, we still have not completed the regulations for the regulation of pet stores. I think that's due, when is that, July or?
I think it's July.
July?
I think so.
Yeah, that, and that might be, okay. This could certainly, if this is the law, that would certainly come under what would be regulated, and so that there would be, I guess, some follow-up with people to make sure that they sign that agreement, because, let's face it, people sign an agreement, the pet store owner is not going to, go knock on their door 6 months later and say, have you spayed or neutered the animal? That's just not going to happen. But by regulation, if this is included in what they would be regulating, that could be the case. There could be a follow-up that would lead toward a spay or neuter when the person may not have done it otherwise. Does that make sense,
Mr.
Daphne?
Chairman, yes, absolutely.
Okay, thank you
Thank you.
very much. Anyone here to speak in opposition to the bill?
Hi, I'm Kelly Gottschalk. I'm a veterinarian from the Virginia Veterinary Medical Association.
Please have a seat. Thank you.
Thank you for your time. VVMA, I didn't really know which line to stand in, Senator Stanley. VVMA has concerns, veterinarians have concerns for early spay neuter, especially for canines. So we appreciate the amendment that basically relieves our concerns.
Okay, great.
And
Thank
if
you
have
very
any
much.
questions, I'm happy to answer.
Okay, please step forward. Yeah, please have a seat. Tell us who you are and what your thinking is.
Thank you. My name is Heidi Krosky, and I'm with the Virginia Animal Owners Alliance. So our concerns with the bill, even with the amendment, is that it still is restricting the choice of the animal owner. So we don't want more restriction. And then the other thing we're worried about is that it's another step toward criminalizing the actual breeding of animals. So I think it's a slippery slope that we need to consider. And finally, I think it's well-intentioned. There are a lot of unwanted animals, but we also need to remember there's a lot of wanted animals, and a lot of the purebred animals, people go to the pet store because they want that purebred animal.
Okay. Thank you so much. Yes, sir. Please have a seat. Tell us your name and any group you represent, and let us know what you think.
First off, thank you, Mr. Chairman, members of this committee. My name is David Foley with Pet World in Hampton, Virginia. I also belong to the Virginia Pet Advocacy Alliance. And, I've been doing this since like 1974. This is all I know how to do. I quit delivering newspapers when I was like 15 years old, got a job in a pet store, and I've been doing it for the past 48 years. And it's not that I'm an authority on this, but basically all it boils down to is that it's my livelihood and how I made my living all this time. And I would like to believe that if I was doing something totally wrong, that the localities I've been in would not issue me licenses and stuff so that I can continue to do this. Senate Bill 89 is going to be a burden to us, no matter how well intended it is. I mean, Senator Stanley basically we all know he's a pet lover. We won't argue that. And we've supported some of his legislation. But this bill we can't do. I mean, what it's going to do is make us sell a dog to a customer that you're going to pay a couple $1,000s for, and then I'm going to say, by the way, if you have to sign this part of this contract, and if you don't get it spayed or neutered, then you could actually be in violation of the law, or I'm going to be in violation of the law. Now, for us to have to enforce that and police it, we're not a nonprofit. We're a for-profit business, and right now trying to go through everything else with running a small business, it's not easy. You got the supply chain is an issue. The COVID is an issue, the staffing is an issue, and this is just another burden that we have to deal with. The shelters have done this, and they've self-imposed this on them, and they've done a great job as far as keeping strays off the street and controlling breeding and everything. Won't argue that. But for us to have to do this and to sell something to someone and say that you have to do this, you're taking away the rights of the customer that wants to buy a dog, whether he wants to have a spayed or neutered or not. You're going to force them to go to another state or somewhere else to buy the dog where it doesn't have restrictions like we do in the Commonwealth. And basically, last year, this policing thing that we had, that we all agreed to, that we don't have an issue with, that was your bill, it'd be worthless because we've been out of business. So there's no need to even be concerned about it. I mean, all I do is ask you is allow us to do our business the way we've done it. We've abided by all the laws up until now. Virginia is one of the most regulated has more regulations on animals than most of the states in the country. And it's just, the shelters can exist, we can exist, and you as a consumer, you should have a choice to buy what you want to buy and have it spayed or neutered if you want to. Okay. I shouldn't have to police that. That's just another burden on us. And no matter how well the intentions of this is, it's not good for us. So please oppose it.
Thank you so much, sir. Anyone else care to offer testimony, either for or against? Senator Stanley, thinking of a couple of options here. One is certainly this has to go to full committee with a recommendation. The other option here would be a letter from Senator Peterson and myself to VDAX about including this issue in the regulatory process that they're going through right now to see if that can be placed into that regime as it's offered. I don't know whether they're going to be addressing spay and neutering in terms of their pet store regulations, and we do have that position. I think that's still in the budget to regulate the stores and to I guess be the the enforcing agent. Would that letter and taking the bill by for the year while we wait for these regulations and to see if it's covered in there so that we can take care of the burden of enforcement that this gentleman in the pet store, so that he would not be maybe obligated to be following up with people to enforce such a thing, would do that. Is there anything in there that strikes your fancy as a way to proceed?
Mr. Chairman, I'd answer your question first by saying, just in remarking, we have pet stores and we have releasing agencies. And as the pet store owner who gave very compelling testimony just said, this puts a burden on their business. But it's not just the job of the releasing agencies to police the world outside the pet store and collect those animals that have been abandoned. It should be a collaborative effort. Hopefully, we can all come to some kind of agreement. And ultimately, that's what this seeks to do. I'm not trying to put anyone out of business, but I am trying to stop the proliferation of those hundreds of thousands of animals that Daphne talked about each year. Where do they go? Who takes care of them? At what cost? It doesn't seem right to me, generally, that once that puppy leaves in the arms, or cat leaves in the arms of the new owner from the pet store, that's it. They don't have warranties. They're not like cars. They don't bring them back in for maintenance, and and I don't know, they may have a return policy or not, but usually that's it. It should be collaborative, and so whether that's something that, by the will of this committee, which I am subjected to, that you think is the way to go, Mr. Chairman, I serve at the will of this committee, at the Stanley Subcommittee, and I just don't serve at the will of Hackworth.
Okay, there you go. Sir, you had another comment.
First off, we do have warranties. We do have return policies. We do have an interest in the dog, because we do some dog food, we do dog grooming, so we want the dog to continue to come back. So we do have a high interest in the dog. Another thing is that basically our dogs are all microchipped. What's the percentage of the dogs that are actually in the shelters that are microchipped, sir?
100%. 100%.
Ones that our dogs end up in there, is what you're saying? Or is it bulk of your dogs, last time I looked in my area, basically, I can't get a Yorkie there. I can't get, a Pomeranian. What you're getting is a lot of mixed breed dogs from people that are responsible breeders in their backyard, because we have a license, and basically we're the ones that are out there selling this, and we're the only legitimate ones. How do you get the people that are backyard breeders and hobby breeders that are doing these things, same things, where you just don't penalize those? That's my thing. I mean, to me, that's just not fair. I mean, my license is we employ people, we pay taxes. So, and the shelters, they do a great job of what they do, and there's room for both of us, because we have two different clientele. And I don't believe that the bulk of our dogs that are microchipped are actually the ones who end up in the shelters.
Okay.
Mr. Chairman, if I can just say, I'm not here to penalize pet shop owners. In the same way that making an obligation of a releasing agency to spay and neuter, I don't believe is penalizing the releasing agency or the shelter. So that's not the purpose of the bill. And I thank you for your time, sir.
All right, there we are. We operate on a motion. Senator Hackworth, do you have a...
I move to report with the amendment.
I have a motion to report the bill as amended. And Clerk, could you open the roll?
Senator Favola, Senator Hackworth,
No.
Senator Marsden,
I'll vote aye. I want the committee to hear the bill, and although my recommendation at that time may be, to refer this to the to VDACs as part of their regulatory process, and to see what happens and to take the bill by for the year while we look at it. And so, but that may be, my intention.
Chairman, I
at full
appreciate your
committee.
time and certainly the time in which we can debate these issues on both sides and do so with dignity and decorum. I think that's important to also our discussion as we always move forward on making sure we're taking care of our companion animals in the Commonwealth of Virginia. And quite frankly, Mr. Chairman, I want to hear that we are the best at taking care of companion animals in the United States.
Okay, so the bill.
Today we will.
So the bill will refer to full committee 1-to-1.
I needed Favola in here.
Huh?
I needed the tiebreaker.
It is that's not going to have it.
Thank you, Mr.
Not, Senator Peterson wanted to remind folks that in full committee we'll be not taking any more testimony. That we'll hear it, but I am going to be exploring that recommendation to deal with taking the bill by for the year so that and advise the folks drafting the regulations that to get their comments on this because they're the folks, the state veterinarian, who are ultimately going to to deal with this, and that investigator that we have in the budget there will have to do that. And I'd just like to get their say so. So.
And Mr. Chairman, I would just remind everybody in here that you and I are attempting to find homes for 400 beautiful female beagles between the age of 11 months and 15 months. And so if anybody would like to help that cause, non-monetary, just to help us find those homes. We've got about, Mr. Chairman, I'm happy to report today, it looks like we're probably going to have about 130, 140 of them already adopted.
Well,
we're just going to keep going.
That is wonderful
to make
work.
sure that those dogs get loving homes.
And we can adjourn the committee here and start the auction right now.
And ladies and gentlemen, one of those rescue beagles that I took is named Marzi, named after him.
That's it.
So there you go.
There you are.
Next is going to be True Story. T-Bone, Bill.
Yeah.
That's my husband that we wanted to pickle. I had it all planned out. I was going to name it Stanley, even if it was a girl.
The committee will rise. Thank you.
Thank